Neighbors in East Lincoln are on edge after coyotes and other unwanted visitors have been spotted in their backyards, and they say it's all because of some grass. Now, Channel 8's Alexis Kneski has more on their concerns as we cover Lincoln tonight.
Yeah, that's right, Macy. As the grass in Taylor Park grows taller and taller, and I'm talking 5 feet and up, the more neighbors are concerned with what they're seeing. An area of the park is being taken over by some unwanted visitors, and neighbors feel the city isn't stepping up to help after many attempted phone calls and emails.
Moved in, it was a beautiful park. People would use the park, flying kites, people would lay out, read books.
Julian Tyler and his wife Barb have called Taylor Park their backyard for the past 20 years, a peaceful piece of property tucked behind 70th and O Streets in Lincoln. But about 10 years ago, things changed. The city decided about half of Taylor Park would be managed under a long grass policy, or prairie in the park areas, which happens to be the Tyler's backyard. Tall grass in some spots standing over 5 feet tall from their back window. When Channel 8 reached out to Lincoln Parks and Rec, they said the tall grass would get rid of some of the weeds in the park after a couple of years.
And here we are 10 plus years later. We still have a lot of weeds, volunteer trees in the park. It's just not being maintained according to their master plan.
Lincoln Parks and Rec says Taylor Park is one of the biggest in the city. About half of the park is mowed regularly. The other half is managed as that long grass policy. Those areas are typically mowed 1 to 3 times each year, depending on the vegetation type. The Tylers say Parks and Rec will mow the area about once a year, but within a week, the grass has already grown back.
Some other parks are mowed to a much higher standard than Taylor Park.
The tall prairie grass may have been a sight for sore eyes in the beginning for the neighborhood, but now it's bringing some serious concerns for the neighbors. Those who live nearby say they have seen people facing homelessness sleeping in the tall grass in their backyard. Now the area has become a breeding ground for coyotes, living in the tall vegetation where they can stay hidden just a stone's throw away from Eastridge Elementary School.
Coming up to people's homes and in their yards, and we have a lot of people worried about their small pets.
Neighbors believe if Lincoln Parks and Rec would mow the area more regularly, the unwanted visitors wouldn't be hanging around. Parks and Rec says they don't believe mowing the native grasses down would deter the coyotes from being in the park. Coyotes have been seen laying in mowed areas of other city parks. Neighbors have even offered to mow the area themselves, but they say Parks and Rec said no to that idea and instead came out and carved a couple pathways through the grass. But neighbors say this doesn't solve the problem. They just want the old Taylor Park back.
Well, I'd love to see it return to a neighborhood park. That's what it is.
Now, Lincoln Parks and Rec says the drainage channel that runs north and south through the park is probably the most significant factor in the presence of coyotes. They say animal control staff have set up daily monitoring of the area around the parks for coyotes. If you have seen one, you're asked to report to animal control. Macy?
All right, thank you, Alexa. And we have more on that story online at klkntv.com.